and a humble bard graced the ride along with Geralt of Rivia. Along came the song from when the White Wolf fought a silver-tongued devil. His army of elves at his hooves they did revel. They came after me with masterful deceit. They broke down my loot and they kicked in my teeth, while the devil's horns minced our tender meat. And so cried the Witcher that he can't be bleed. Hey, toss a coin to your Witcher, oh belly of plenty, oh belly of plenty. Oh, toss a coin to your Witcher, oh belly of plenty. Toss a guy a coin. At the edge of the world, fight the mighty horde that bashes and breaks you and brings you the morn. He thrust every elf far back on the shelf, high up on the mountain from whence it came. He wiped out your pest, got kicked in his chest. He's a friend of humanity, so give him the rest. That's my epic tale, a champion prevailed, defeated the villain, now pour him some ale. Toss a coin to your Witcher, oh belly of plenty, oh belly of plenty. Oh, toss a coin to your Witcher, a friend of humanity. Toss a coin, he's a friend of humanity. Hey!
I'm friends with a manatee. What? Makes no sense.
Toss a coin to your Witcher, oh belly of plenty, oh belly of plenty. Oh, toss a coin to your Witcher, a friend of humanity.
Television highlights of the news of yesteryear.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Valiant Renegades finally wrapping up, and we have the wrap up here. With me tonight is CC Karaoke. How you doing?
Doing well, thanks.
Glad to see you. Nice hat. We also have joining us the one, the only Culture Casino. Don't change your channel. He's actually here.
What?
Yeah, that's right.
No, I'm always here.
In spirit, maybe, I guess.
Oh,
I mean,
speaking of being here in spirit, I spirited myself into a karaoke stream a couple days ago that was loud.
You enjoyed it.
I think that was the best show we've done yet.
You're having some fun.
No, I don't. I mean, there was a lot of talent there, and I wasn't amongst it, so it was fun though. Good time.
Good times. So yes, welcome.
I beg to differ.
Why is that?
Well, because that performance of the Cake song when you put the shades on, that was legendary.
Well,
Gotta
I don't
clip
know
that and
you clipped it.
No, I didn't, but it crossed my mind
should.
because that was a great performance.
Oh well, thank you. I had fun. It was a good time. I got to hang out with some friends and some new friends, and those are always so fun. I love it.
Yeah.
Tom and I used to do karaoke.
Yeah, Paulie used to do it too, and then he kind of quit. That's all right.
He's an adult. He turned into an adult. He did that, or he turned into a plumber. Have you seen his mustache?
It's me, Mario.
That's me.
I'm a little jealous of the hair.
To me, Paulie. Wait, are we really going to talk about Paulie's mustache?
A mustache, a mustache. If I only had a mustache.
You do.
Oh, I actually kind of have a beard thing.
Well, yeah, but if you shaved it all off, you'd have a mustache if you left the part above your lip.
Yeah,
right.
You
know what you should do? You should grow one like Paulie just to compete with him, just to be an ass.
I look like a smooth criminal with a mustache.
Bum, 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 bum. I bet you'd look like a 70s rock star with one,
I
especially
do,
if you did like the
actually.
handlebars.
You know, what's worse is I look like one of those guys who did adult films in the 70s. This is bad.
Got to draw
Well.
out the beard so it's like halfway down your chest.
No, well, what I do is I do the foo. So I take the center out. And dude, my biological dad has epic, like just epic foo, man. Sometimes he'll like do the chop thing. So it's like this wicked, it's like insane. I'm like, that's why I think Nick and I might be related, because Nick does.
That'd be weird if like, yeah, you were. But anyhow, we got Monkey Jeebus here. How you doing? I see CC in the chat and on the stream. We got Union of Amateur Strategists. Darcipio's here. Master Shadow Dragon's here.
Hey.
We got Shrap 3D. David Glenn. Let's see. Who else do we got? We've got.
Love.
Did I say Master Shadow Dragon? I think I did.
Yeah.
Yeknomino's here. Tin Man.
Yeknomino.
How did you call it?
Yeknomino.
Yeknomino. That's how I'm supposed to say it.
No, that's how I say it.
Then we got General Sod who says, "Hey, you guys."
Hey. Oh wait, wrong one.
That's a little. Yeah.
Oh, you did a lot.
Put it where it don't belong, Rudy. Anyway, RC Anderson's here. Ben Dowdy's here. Bob M is here, also known as Bomb, as you see by this thing there.
Bam, 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 bam.
I wanna be sedated. We got Eclade here. We got Walter Tomazuski here, who sends in a super chat. Look at that. It says, with the failure of malls, the closure of cinemas and theaters, and streaming and financial disaster, how will pop culture entertainment survive? Well, it's a good question to kick things off with. I think boutique theaters and, of course, your standard cinemas are never going to go anywhere really. But what?
What did you say? Booty? What?
Yeah, booty theaters. Don't you go to the booty theater all the time?
No.
Slap that ass.
No, I know this.
Boutique theaters like your Alamo Draft House and such.
Oh, okay. No, cinema has always survived in various forms and formats ever since the days of vaudeville. So I'm not so concerned there. I think they can be repurposed and utilized in other ways, in addition to showing films, but to do other things, just like they kind of did during the global crisis, right? So I think that'll be fine. What's up, Salty Butterbags?
Well, what do you think, CC, from up there where you're in a different country altogether? How the theater's faring up there on your end?
Oh, I spent this summer in a small prairie town, about 30, 40,000 people. And there was more staff in the theater than there were people, despite the fact they were selling $8 tickets.
Wow.
And the mall was dead too. I mean, half the stores there were closed. The people in town blamed it on recent events, which I can
the zombie apocalypse that you saved them all from.
Yeah, but at night, the mall was very much alive. Just maybe not in the way that everyone would like. It was the only place that was
safe.
Well, no, it was the unsafe place technically. Well, I mean, we're in Canada, so it's not like anything's that unsafe here. But it turned into the ground for all the teenagers in town to get in their cars and burn rubber around the parking lot.
Gotcha.
So that was interesting when I parked my rig there one night, and I was like, "Oh, so this is where the racing is." Oops.
Almost always.
Hey, well, that's cool. No, I didn't
used to be Twin Pines Mall.
I can see that going on all over the continent.
Yeah, but that was a deep cut from a film that I'm surprised Tom didn't say anything about.
I was messaging Paul back.
Wow.
And then
got a couple of messages in the chat too about whether Chado's coming.
I think he is. And I got Brahma in the chat too. I was going to send him a link.
Brahma. No, so what was it? Oh, so no. Okay. What else do I think? I think pop culture is alive and well. One of the reasons I believe that is because I did an amazing interview with the fan film creator. Gordon. Yeah, the director of Gordon, and a writer, director, and with the two executive producers from Creative Force Films. And I have to tell you, if you haven't checked out their YouTube channel or that Gordon fan film, you're missing out. The two Star Wars shorts that are there, short films, are amazing. You're gonna love them. And then, of course, this Gordon film is something inspired. But I do a full hour interview with them, which actually I'm releasing as a video tomorrow, which is something you don't want to miss because they're going to give you tips on all of that. But the reason I bring it up is because they're going to be making great content. We have people making great content. We just need to solicit them to make more or encourage them to make more, and support
Hollywood
them.
is incontinent.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. Look, I mean, we're watching in real time the collapse of the MCU. We're watching it in real time. We're watching Disney has so devalued these icons that were created, pop culture icons that were created, Star Wars, Marvel, you go down the list, that they're not even earning their money back. Go ahead.
Gordon's alive.
Yes.
That was the best part.
It was.
I genuinely hope the future of cinema is right here in content creators like yourselves. As you amass a community, if you can crowdfund, as has already been done by a couple of people for sure, then you can film your own films. You don't have to rely on. I mean, we all have the characters we love, but we can still create our own.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to cost $200 million to do it.
Oh no! My budget for my project is about $26,000, and it's not going to be a terribly long thing. Under 90 minutes.
Is there karate in it?
No, but it's a Western.
Failed. No karate. Well, karate in Westerns works. It's East meets
right.
West.
Okay, so I'll allow for one karate move. And it's
need like a really cool like Chinese dude who has nunchucks.
It's a sci-fi Western.
It was perfect.
Yeah, it's a sci-fi Western. And it's gonna be great. And it's actually
Is it the Magnificent Seven in space?
No. It'll also fit in. No, because I gave them that idea like a week ago. No.
Oh, that was called Battle Beyond the Stars, but yeah.
No, okay, but it's also a horror film. So it's like three things in one. So I'm gonna scare the.
You've never actually told me the logistics of this. I know we've discussed it a little bit, but very little actual. We should shoot two westerns at once. That's what I was trying to tell you.
Oh, that's what we'll do. Yeah, well,
a regular western, and then use the other stuff at the same time for shooting.
If I'm gonna rent the town, the ghost town, I should probably just do three projects.
Three projects at once. Fuck it, kill enough birds with one stone. You got people dressed up. Why not?
That's right, y'all. Okay, so in this scene, it's completely different than the other one we just shot. No. Now,
no, this is the comedy. This isn't the horror.
Yeah. This is the funny part.
Put the knife down, Paul.
Yeah. Hi, Paul.
He actually had some close there. That's all that matters. How you doing, Paul?
I thought you had nobody here. No, I was just.
Well, thanks.
Well,
at first I didn't know.
Well, now someone's here. I was helping a musician friend with his Hackintosh, and then rushed home and finished off a video on Puffin Publications and their evisceration of Roald Dahl's books. And here I am.
I saw that. That's the definition of the end right there.
Yep. You think that things are maybe going your way, and then
this might be part of the final read, though. See, that's what I was kind of saying to Andre.
And something like this has been in the works for a long time because it's a publishing company.
So I said, we're going to lose a few. We're going to see a few casualties along the way. They're really going to try and get us with a few things. And this is clearly one of them because this is aiming at children's books. Now, granted, Roald Dahl is not somebody who's ever been one who pulls punches in his books when it comes with, like, he knows kids are smart, right? And growing up, like, I loved Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I loved the movie with Gene Wilder, and even though I think Roald wasn't a huge fan of it originally, I think he warmed up to it over time too.
I mean, he wrote them at children, not for.
That's a good way of putting it too. Like it's not necessarily that he wrote them for children, but they were accessible for children.
Well, that's only because
stories that children could enjoy.
He was a misanthrope. He hated people, and he hated specifically the people he hated. People were stupid, and so he wrote these books, eviscerating the stupid people he hated, and they became children's books. I mean, that's the way I interpret it. He was also a raging anti-Semite, but you know, we still drive Volkswagens.
Yeah. But no, like, I mean, again, I'm not like speaking on his personal life or level,
Belcher
but like
does the best takes. I have to take him on the road with me.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, but this is the one time I might break the rule of us talking about actual news on the show, because we never actually brought this up originally.
Sorry,
this happened. No, but this happened kind of in the interim of the last show and now, and it's actually kind of a hot topic.
I think so.
It's a topic that I'm very passionate about because I do not agree with any kind of censorship whatsoever or changing of anything whatsoever. I mean, I'm even one of those guys who's like, I'm still pissed that we haven't got the original Star Wars trilogy in a legit releasable form. I mean, that's where I'm at with that. Like, I hate that shit. Like, I don't care if you give me 20 director's cuts like Ridley Scott does. Just give me the original too.
The interesting thing, I haven't read any of the changed books, but I watched a whole bunch of reports from other people and read the article in Variety, and to me, you know, the pernicious parts is not that they changed fat to, rather than changing enormously fat, just taking the fat out and saying the person was Galapagos Gloop or whatever the kid's name.
Augustus Gloop.
Yes, was enormously fat. He's now enormous. To me, that's all the way through. But they went an extra mile. So, for instance, Matilda is no longer reading Rudyard Kipling. What did I have in my script? He's reading a woman's book. God damn it!
And this is real, or this is stuff you came up with?
This is for real. Let me just hold on. Let me find this.
Because I seen somebody else post something, and I wasn't 100% sure if it was legit or they're just making shit up to be funny. Because, like, yeah, it was like some of it was like.
So she's no longer reading Rudyard Kipling. She's reading Jane Austen. So
okay, so this might have been real what I saw, because that's what threw me off. I'm like, are they really modernizing it too on top of it?
Because the Wokewaffen didn't like the stuff that Rudyard Kipling wrote. It's of its time, or is it because she, as a girl, can't be reading a book by a male author? Well, and to me, that is actually the more insidious.
Yeah, well, see, what I saw was like, I saw this thing that was breaking a bunch of things down. I thought it wasn't legit because what I saw was like they were modernizing some things. So if that's
Jane Austen is not modern. It's of a time.
True, no, but they were like changing like things like that in the story. And it was just like, wait a minute here. Why are they doing that if that's true? But yeah.
Can I ask a question? Because we talked about Jane Austen.
You're going to anyway.
You're right. Paul.
Yes.
Did you play any of the Saints Row franchise?
I saw it. It wasn't my chisel. To me, I found it. I wouldn't play it.
So the fourth one, the last one for real, not this new reboot garbage.
Okay,
was brilliantly done, and it actually features, because of time travel and stuff, Jane Austen, and she actually narrates the beginning of the game. And then at the end, she's actually traveling with this.
Is she a stripper in it?
No. She's perfectly lovely. It's just it's wonderful. They did such a great job, and I'm like, okay, if you're gonna bring Jane Austen into something, do it like they did in Saints Row, but no.
But another piece, another quote out of it is that they changed a reference to an idiot to a boy.
Oh well, there you go. I mean, boys are
that. So there's just some horrific. A witch. That was a cashier in the book on the witch book is no longer a cashier, but a top scientist.
I strongly disagree with changing even a single word.
Oh,
me too.
Listen, I'm totally there, but I'm just saying that clearly they want girls in the STEM they're trying to encourage girls to get into STEM. It's such bullshit.
But see,
well, that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
They're actively.
So maybe that thing I saw was real. I should find it. And we also have Brahma Bull joining us. Thank you for being here.
Hey. They're actively working against evolutionary biology, and it doesn't work. It's never worked. They've tried it 1,000 different times in 1,000 different ways, and it doesn't work. There are going to be a limited number of ladies that are interested in STEM. Sorry, but it's just not going to be their thing. Ladies like people, male people like things. They're like gear porn. Dudes like that. That's just the way we're wired. We're wired different. And so trying to, artificially create these circumstances, it always bites you in the ass. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Okay. But we are seeing evolution in action, because there's now more stupid people, and this is just demonstrating it.
Well, it's just because they're actively creating stupid people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just finished my video on it.
Okay.
So you can all watch my video after we're done with this stream.
This I did not know. Charlie was originally written as a black boy, but the publisher made him change it.
Oh, wow.
Is that true?
Oompa Loompas are described as African pygmies. We all knew that. But now in this new edition, they're all... in this edition, as well as the subsequent sequel, the Oompa Loompas are drawn as being white and appearing similar to hippies, and the reference to Africa were deleted.
Oh my gosh.
In 2023, they then changed the original text of the book, such as the Oompa Loompas gender to gender neutral, and removing every occurrence of the word fat, like Paul was just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, then, you know what, Brahma, you are enormous.
Yeah.
There you
go. Wow.
My greatest concern is losing the source material. And it's a little bit easier with something large like this rather than something a little bit more obscure. But what if the publishers have thrown away the original text?
Of course they are.
Yeah, because there's a similar situation with like Frankenstein, because Mary Shelley did 2 different versions.
We're going
in a way, this is more offensive than book burning.
I agree with you. I mean, we are going to be huddled in forests, exchanging old copies of big, BFG, hoping that the Fahrenheit 451 woke off and don't get us for having original copies.
Well, and this is why I was griping about labels on films, because at first most of us were like, okay, it's fine, whatever. They can slap a stupid label on it as long as they don't edit it. I don't care. But I kept saying, I'm not so sure about that, because this just leads down this slippery slope of, first they slap the label on it, second they either alter it or call it contraband. Hence, then the old version becomes either illegal, or that just becomes illegal. Then they can take it away from you or treat you like a criminal for having it. Right? That's the next fucking steps here. And I know that sounds hyperbolic, but we're headed down that slope so fucking quickly. It's not even funny.
Changing the novels themselves is worse.
Yeah, it's criminal. What they're doing is
that's what I'm saying. Is we're heading down this path of just I can't stand by it. I have no patience for it. And I mean, I don't mind if an author wants to revisit something, but again, it's a different situation than somebody who has no connection with the original author coming in and reinterpreting their work for modern audiences is bullshit.
The All Foundation approved of this, and I went to the website of the what was it? I can't remember the name of the company they hired, but it's clearly one of those. I am part of a large, guilty white corporation, and I'm going to hire this shitty little charity to go through our books just so I can absolve myself of whatever guilt that I'm feeling. These people are grifters. This is right up there with, this is part of the apology tour. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And clearly this organization that went through the book with their sensitivity analyzers to change.
Well, and that's part of the problem is that whatever's left of his family or runs the estate is probably a generation or two removed from anybody who really even knew him to begin with.
Rolled wood rip their skin off. He would take a shred off of all of them for doing this. There's no
considering how
as well.
I was gonna say, considering how he reacted to what they changed to him in the original film, I can only imagine.
Oh yeah,
right. Because like I said, he did warm up to certain aspects to the movie over the years. But initially, he fucking hated it, and he made no qualms about that. Like, he was totally against it. Yeah,
that's Roald. I mean, that was his modus operandi.
Exactly. So, like, I can tell, like, this is not something he'd be okay with. And I mean, again, their excuse to that was, well, he's an old white dude who was, like you just said earlier, he may have even had an anti-Semitic streak. Well, if that's the case, they're going to use that as an excuse. And you're right. They're absolving themselves, washing themselves of any of the responsibility of the past of Roald's work, right? When it's not their responsibility, nobody's holding them responsible for it. Nobody thinks these things. And you're right, it's a grift. It's another way to sell safe editions to schools. Think about how many of these editions are going to get sold now. We ain't going to buy them.
No.
But who is? We technically are going to buy them with our taxes for the fucking school. And Culture has to leave us. So I'm sure he has something to say to that effect.
All I'm going to say is, in an effort, this is another reason to get into school boards, because you stop buying books from Scholastic to outfit your libraries and you start to solve these problems. Because if they only sell 15,000 copies, that's not going to service their need to change. Let's just put it that way. The only way they can get away with this cultural reprogramming that they did in China about 100 years ago is with the financial support that we do. It's the only way you can do it in capitalism. So all you have to do is stop supporting it, which means school boards and other local political machinations is what happens.
Good place to start. But I mean, we've also seen this already years ago in comic books, right? Culture on your way out the door. What else you got?
I'm going to continue to say I started to lose interest in the early 2000s in books, but by 2013, I wasn't buying anything. So it's just, that's when they started to jump the shark, and then, as things got worse and you got into New 52 and all the other crap, it's a progressive locust. It's the worst kind of cancer. And I hate to throw around cancer as like something that is, this is, but it's kind of cultural cancer, or kind of.
It is. It needs to be cut out.
Yeah. Anyway, I got to drift. I love you guys. Have a great one. Thanks, Tom.
Bye, Culture.
Better, CC.
Take care. No, I like that. I hate to use that as an analogy, but it's right, because that's what they're doing, right? They're actually cutting things out, but they're cutting out what we would consider healthy organs or healthy parts of the body, right?
Yeah,
that's what makes it. Yeah, that's what makes it what it is. If you're smart enough, these things may have come from a different time or a different place of, thinking and perhaps cultural,
not just that, but Roald's books, how do I say it? Kids like dangerous things, and his books said things in a dangerous way, used words that maybe weren't the most appropriate. But if you're a proper parent raising your kids properly, then you get them to think for themselves, and they understand that socially you don't use these words. But Roald was angry at people, and this was his way of expressing his angry at the dumb people around him. And now he has, he's dead. But you know what? His ghost is probably so powerful that when the Roald Foundation signed off on doing this, I bet you every single person was hiding behind their desk as they're signing the contract. They're afraid of his ghost. I mean, they are just completely irresponsible people. Now, the other half that I blame parents who are inattentive now, who are spending all their time with their devices, who I see all the time handing over phones and other devices to kids that are way too young to have them, so the kids won't bug them while the parents are on their devices. And
it's the babysitter now.
Yeah, and they're completely inattentive. We didn't give our kids phones until they were in grade 8. So
yeah, and of course there's another reason why they're doing this, and that is because that new movie comes out this next year. So of course they're gonna hopefully sell more books that way too.
Which movie?
The Wonka prequel. It comes out this year. I mean, the Wonka prequel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is their
with Timothée Chalamet, or how we say his name.
Yeah. So what was it last year? We had the Dr. Seuss situation. And they just stop selling those books. This way, they can still try to make money on the books while still destroying it.
I have the copies of the books that they voluntarily took off. It was 6 books, and I kind of get it. I honestly didn't have a problem with it, and it was better that they just took them down. And that was it.
That may be the case in that sense, but that doesn't mean I don't think they should necessarily be taken completely out of. Here's what I say should be done with those.
But
books,
that was their decision, and
right.
they didn't bastardize the work, the original work. This is way worse.
What I'm saying though is I think they should still make it available, but not make it in a way that is obviously made for kids. Make it in a way that's like you bound it in all of those books in one specific book together for adults. That's called like the Lost Dr. Seuss, collection.
I don't know. Who cares?
If you want to, but I still say make it available. So that's my problem is once they make stuff unavailable, that to me is just as bad as censorship.
The part that made me really angry, honestly, about Dr. Seuss, the situation there, was watching every late night host, every popular, broad news outlet just line up to say this is the right move. We should get rid of these books. They're wrong, and they all
they were basically on a
lined
move
up one after the other. Yeah,
to cancel Dr. Seuss himself, not just the books. That was the thing.
Right. Yeah.
And what happened, Josh, was there's a handful of books, and Paul is right. I don't know if you can still hear me or not, but there was some questionable stuff from back in the day that probably isn't something you would want your kid reading nowadays, right? I understand where he's coming from as far as I understand where some of those books were pulled. But CC is right to where they made this huge fucking thing out of it, like they were canceling them altogether. So yes, I get where Paul's
talk
coming
show
from.
hosts are ignorant. I mean, what? So I have the entire collection, even the bits that can't be bought anymore. You read this, you go, you know what? I'm not really interested in reading this to my kids, but this is a parental decision.
Exactly.
Right. So,
and that's kind of what I'm talking about right there.
Actually, problematic. Don't get rid of the ability to sell or buy the book altogether. Let it be a parental decision.
Yeah, I think it's historically it needs to be around.
That's what Tom says, and I fundamentally agree. But
and again, like I said, Paul, it's not a situation where you would make it accessible to kids, and clearly it would be up to the adult to say, okay, you grew up on Dr. Seuss, you're getting a little older. Here's some things that you may want to look into, like. They're not culturally appropriate now, and when a kid can understand that, a little bit differently.
Told, the 6 Dr. Seuss books were nothing like this. Not.
No, I can't imagine.
Not close to this.
You can put them in the adult section of the store.
Pardon me, what?
You can put them in the adult section of the store.
Yeah, behind one of those curtains, with the little beads on it. Hey, would you like to go into the racist Tintin section? Hey, come on.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Would you like to buy some Roald Dahl originals? Honest.
But see, that's the thing is it's almost gotten to that point where it is like a contraband situation. And that's what I was saying is like, it's going to be for long that it's like, it'll be 20 years since these books have been published, 30 years, 40 years before they're gone. And it's, again, I'm not saying that we need to preserve the bad parts necessarily, but everybody's work should be preserved for better or worse is my point. But anyway, let's get to some of these super chats before we get too long in the tooth.
And hello, Mr. Bull. I've never met you.
Yeah, you've never met Brahma and Paul.
Hey, Paul. How are you?
Nice, yes.
I think we crossed ways a couple of times, but it was like you were going out, I was coming in, and opposite. But yeah, nice to meet you officially.
You're still a Patrick Roy fan?
Oh, yeah. I was at the game earlier today. So
there you go. Jack White says he sent me an email with my thoughts about Culture's current look. Please read. Oh, I'm sorry I didn't get this for Culture left, but you know what? I'll hold on to this. Is he in the chat still? Are you still in the chat, Culture, listening? I know he wasn't feeling too well. But if he is, I'll go check it out. If not, we'll save it for the morning show if he's there. Eric says, happy Sunday. Well, Eric, happy Sunday to you. Hopefully you're doing well. Eric Wimberg. We got Jack White again, who says, I've said it before. I will say it again. We will still have some good entertainment here west, the Terminal List, Bosch Reader, Stranger Things. Oh, yeah. We've had, I just watched another new episode of 1923 last night. We're starting to see
talk
some
to you
good
about
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
After we're done with these.
No problem. We Are All Devo says, I believe the children are our future. God help us all. Yeah, right. I like that icon too. That's pretty cool. Jack White says, and obviously all the anime and manga from Japan, because the Japanese creator are still largely interested in entertaining people and making money. Well, that always helps. And then Jack also says, I never cared for Dahl's books growing up. My dad thinks Dahl actually pathologically hated kids because of the fates the kids in his books were given. I can see where you could come up with this.
I'm in agreement with that. He
was never a big fan of kids, no, from what I heard.
But that was part of the fun of the book. This was part of the zeitgeist of the books. I mean,
yeah, I mean, we always joked about how basically Willy Wonka was a child murderer,
and what was the teacher? Trunchbull put kids in the chokey. It was great stuff, though. I mean, it was horror. It was horror for kids. It was titillating.
Yes. Well, it was lessons learned about not being a glutton, not doing this, not doing that. I wish that there were some books written about how to behave in a restaurant nowadays. I mean, my kids sat at the table and ate and behaved themselves. Some of these kids just running wild through restaurants. It drives me freaking nuts. I would love to write a story that has something bad happen to those kids.
Don't be Toby. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, most people don't know how to parent kids. And I have. I mean, he's grown up now, but he was
I've seen the picture of you and your kid. He looks just like you. It's scary.
So when he was young, he was very energetic, didn't like to listen. So I got into the habit of, if I went into a store or a restaurant, I always laid out what was expected of him before we went in. And there were a couple times, one in a restaurant where and these weren't hard and fast, horrible rules. These were just an outline of expectations. And before the food came, he kind of went nuts, and I just put down the cash, left the food on the table, and took my son right out of the restaurant. He's going, no, I don't want to go. I said, I don't give second chances. I hate you, Dad. You never give second chances. That's correct. I never give second chances. And a parent stopped me at the door, said, you're the first person I've ever seen, do that. And they were a teacher, and they said, I wish all the parents that I had in my classroom behaved the way that you do. I wasn't mean to my son. I just said, these were the rules. You stopped. Like you didn't follow them.
I had a similar situation with my kid. It was his birthday, and
but we both suffered, but I didn't get to eat either.
Well, and it's the same thing here with me. And it was his birthday. And at this time, his mom had him full time, and I only got him on the weekends before I had full custody. And he picked, I said, it's your birthday. You pick where we go to eat. Well, he picked this place called Pizza Ranch, which is like this pizza buffet. I think they're national brand, so you might know what they are. But
we don't have them in Canada.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he had them in Canada, but he wanted to go to this place. Well, it turns out he only really wanted to go to this place because he wanted a gumball from the gumball machine. And so I'm sitting here trying to get him to eat, and he's obsessed with the gumball. So I'm like, all right, here, get your gumball, and then you got to sit down and eat. I made the deal with him. Well, he didn't get the gumball he wanted. So he continued to just be upset about that and make a big scene about getting the gumball he wanted, until finally we both just walked out of the place. Like you said, Paul, I didn't get to eat. I was so upset. I paid the lady and I left.
Yep.
Because at that point, what am I supposed to do? And I mean, that's the only way I could teach him. And he never really acted like that in a restaurant ever again. I'll tell you what. Well, the store is a different story, but yeah.
Not to get into parenting stuff, but a lot of people I see pretend parenting, and they react to situations that they have no control over, and then they've basically lost it. So, I mean, this is stuff this isn't stuff that I came up with. I read a wonderful book by Barbara Coloroso that basically outlined anytime you've got a potential situation, you are in the moral correct place if you outline what the rules are ahead of time. If you just react and do something stupid with your kids afterwards, then you're not on moral high ground.
Well, and tell me this, Paul, with your kids or kid, once they got into like their teenage years and they looked around in a restaurant and a whole bunch of kids are going wild, and you say, aren't you glad that we had rules? Because it bugs them just as much, once they get to the age where they can recognize it.
Both
And
my kids
were happy about it.
and especially my son, several years ago, came by and said, "I'm really glad you did what you did." Seriously.
That's good.
And
Yeah.
I'm lucky, touch wood, that neither of my kids went through the mid-teens, "I hate you, mom, dad, go F yourselves. I'm going off and getting nose rings and my,
Right.
I had some of the I hate yous, but he also had.
But
some
I didn't.
language
Neither of my
disorders and
kids,
stuff too,
and
so
that stuns a
he's
lot of
autistic,
people.
but
Where
yeah.
we didn't lose our kids for 3-4 years, and then have them come back to us later.
Oh yeah.
Because I made a habit. Anytime my daughter brought one of her girlfriends to our place, I said, "So, did you go through the I hate my parents phase?" And to a person, every single one said yes.
Well,
They
we
ran
also
off,
have joining
did
us.
drugs, they did all the stuff. I mean, got drunk, maybe got pregnant, even got an abortion, and none of my kids. And I there's a lot of reasons for that. I don't believe in quality time. I only believe in quantity time, which is why I shut down my office and worked from home for most of my. Not everyone has that luxury, so I'm not giving myself any gold stars.
We also have joining us though right now, Andy Masterson joining us from the man cave of look at that. It's like the man cave of destruction. You've got all the guys lined up there along the wall.
Yeah. Hi guys.
How you been?
Not bad. What's new?
Oh, The Last
Dean
of Us
has turned into
on.
Parenting Anonymous. Yeah. Oh, you got to go watch Last of Us.
Yeah, I do need to go watch Last of Us.
Jack
That's
White.
a nice
thank you so
She-Hulk
much.
TV show statue behind you there, Andy. Sorry,
he's the bad guy from the TV show. No. Bamagrad says, "Hail to Tom, Paul, CC Culture. Tom, I sent you an email with an attached card I want to get your approval on. It is an info reminder card to give to Martin Cove when I meet him at. I'll check that out. Let's see here. We've got. Take a look at it. Looks good to me. Looks good to me, man. Actually, pretty good. I got to get some cards actually made up, to be honest with you. So, yeah. And according to this was Jack White's thing for culture earlier. It looks like some kind of crazy old hermit I must expect to see get into shouting match with your desk or a garbage can or something. Speaking of somebody who might just do that, Charlie.
Oh, hey, Tom. Sorry I'm late. I didn't want to come on, though, because culture kind of smells funny.
Yeah, he does. He's kind of homeless right now.
Kind of like bad whiskey and a rest stop restroom, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
Nobody really likes culture. But
we do, but we don't. But we do. But we don't. But we do.
Right.
Jack White says all we can do is if we have old copies of these types of books is to give them and copy them word for word on our computers, typewriters, or whatever, keep them alive in their original state. Yeah, that's the beauty of collecting and having that, especially books and other physical media, is that you can keep it forever. And there's nothing wrong with backing it up. I'm an avid fan of doing that in any way you can.
Well, I would imagine they must have done this for some kind of financial reason. They must have gotten some order, scholastic order or something that encouraged them to make these changes.
Well, like I said, Paul, right now, this is the beauty of it. It sounds like this is not the first time they've altered the book, because it said they altered it before with the Oompa Loompa thing. So those books were back, I don't know what year it said, 2013, I think. Here we are, another 10 years down the road. Well, that probably worked well for them because they probably sold almost every library and school in America bought a new edition.
The original edit came from the publishers when he first handed in his manuscript. So they were never published with those extreme controversial elements.
No, they took out, this was recently, it said, I think it was around 2013 or a little sooner than that, maybe it was 2008, I can't remember the date, I'll have to go back and look. But it said they actually changed in the books that the Oompa Loompas were no longer African pygmies. They're now like hippies. So like that's one thing they changed already. So now they're making more changes, and that's what I was saying is they probably had a great, they probably made a crap ton of money when they did that back in the day, reselling it to a bunch of libraries and schools. And I said that's probably their goal here again. Plus, they've got the new movie coming out. Actually, it was probably about the same time the Tim Burton movie came out. If I go back and look. So wasn't that like 2006 or something like that? Maybe it was 2006.
Right,
I can't remember which.
there.
Yeah. But no, so that's part of their motivation. I'm sure the other side is they can virtue signal on it.
See, I'd like to like do fair turn, and like if we get somebody like Nelson Peltz actually in power and producing something, I want somebody to make like an accurate depiction of Karl Marx, where he was just mooching off everybody and refused to work a day in his life. And like we can actually put out there, like, yeah, this is your hero. This is like, he wants everybody else to go to work so he doesn't have to.
Went and rubbed elbows with other scholars while his wife and kids starved to death.
Right. Yeah. This was the the great benefactor. So, but there's nothing like that out there. When I went to school, we were actually taught communism was bad, and we were told about like the death count and the I remember in civics class, like we were encouraged to go see The Killing Fields when that was in the theater. So yeah, it was a different time.
Yep.
Well, it just felt like we weren't afraid to tell the truth back then. Now they'll cover it up. That's what bothers me most about anything. So.
Well, it's an industry. You've got a whole bunch of people that have to make a living not being creative because they are incapable of being creative. So all they can do is destroy the work of the creative that happened in the past. You will not find any new long-lasting IP or any successful product generated by the woke. Nothing.
No.
Shouldn't get too comfortable that the modern age of technology and hard drives and computers is somehow safer than ancient history at preserving stories. We can still lose it. And if you're familiar with like attempts to preserve this stuff on the internet, you know that's failing too. It starts off big and everyone's downloading the original copy of something, and then a year or two later it's like you can't get it anymore because it all faded out or got shut down, deleted. It's as temporary as it ever was.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to know. I just want to know what happened to titties. We used to get some good titties back in the day with good movies, and you just don't see titties as much as you used to.
Taylor Sheridan is showing some great love for titties. I'll tell you that much right now. He's not a ton, but he's always uses them well.
Yeah, be careful there, Jolly, because you might get some nice man titties out there.
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say, be careful. They'll say, yes, we'll allow tits as long as they're man tits. Yeah. No.
You know what?
Jonas is here. Go ahead, Paul.
They wouldn't even want to see if Raquel Welch showed up now, the original version, they would not accept, a nicely clad, fur-covered Raquel Welch. They don't like stunning women.
No, they don't. Well, they don't like women in general.
They don't like women. Yeah,
I agree.
I was gonna say they don't like men. They don't like women. They like this non-binary smudgy thing.
Monsieur Bull. I know it's true.
Jonas is in the house. How you doing, Jonas? Says how long before the Jane Austen is edited back out? Yeah, before she becomes problematic. I think she'll be okay for a while, as long because she was like the Jennifer Lawrence of authors. So, she's all right.
The Jennifer Lawrence.
Well, she kind of is, And then we've got Electrifying CT, who says, not to be rude or hurtful, but cancer within the body is at least a way out. This propaganda is a cancer of an entire nation, society, death, and future for all. Well, there's a way out of it, though. But, that's the solution is we got to cut it out. We just got to cut it out, period. Whether it's stopping it or removing those people from where they're doing it.
Well, if DeSantis becomes president of the United States, it's a start.
It wouldn't be a bad move, probably. But they would turn him so much into Trump Jr. It would be a whole nother 4 years of that shit.
I think he's smart enough to deal with it, though.
You're probably right, Brahma. Jack White says the problem with kids is just like adults is that they are all different and they need to be dealt with differently. Yes, depending on their personality and potential issues. Absolutely. But at the same time,
kids I could threaten the spanking, and she immediately stopped. The other one, you had to follow through, or she was going to push you to whatever limit she could get it to.
That part is true, is like, but also at the same time, kids also need to learn, and this is part of what got us to this problem here in the first place. Kids also need to learn that, you know, the rules apply to everybody the same way. And this is a problem I had with my kid. Because he was autistic, they would let him get away with too much shit. And one day I'm sitting here listening to the parent, and he had literally had the principal at one end, me at the other, and all his teachers and aides and stuff in the middle telling me all these things, and I'm just going off. And then finally I just stopped him and I said, time out. I said, just tell me for 1 second. If any other kid that wasn't my kid that didn't have autism did what Jeffrey just did that you said, what would happen? And the principal said, well, he'd be suspended for like 3 days or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I said, exactly my point. He's not learning a fucking thing. And I think I even said, fuck. I said, you guys are babying him too much. You guys let him get away with everything. He's manipulating you. Like, he knows this. He's not that. Don't let him, the fact that he's autistic, lead you to believe that he doesn't understand how to manipulate you. Like, he knows how to get what he wants, right? Like, he's still a kid at the end of the day. So, like, yes, all kids are different, but at the same time, I think they all need to learn that all the rules apply to everybody just the same. Because that's part of the problem we have now with all these people thinking that the rules don't apply to them, right? Like, that's exactly what we're seeing, is that they think they should be the exception to the rule every time, right? It's like the ultimate Karen move. It's just ridiculous. But again, that's a whole other debate. But
the one time I got suspended, I got really drunk on a school trip with my friend, and he vomited on the teacher. So that was the end of that.
Well,
but later the teacher actually laughed at my mom about it. So I don't think they were actually angry. But
back in the day, you didn't have to do much to get the strap.
Yeah.
I think I was 10 or something, which would make it mid 60s. And we were on a bus trip to downtown Toronto, and I lived in the suburbs, and so it's a good distance for a 10-year-old downtown Toronto. And the teacher had us reading the keystone plaques of the famous buildings around Toronto. And we stopped at the oldest church in all of Canada. And the teacher turned to me and said, Paul, can you read the plaque on I can't remember the name of the church. Can you read the plaque on the church? And I went, made in Japan. And the bus exploded in laughter. And the teacher, who was a very religious Catholic, tossed me off the bus.
Oh, no.
At 10 years of age. I had no money. I had to stop people to beg them for money for a bus token to get home.
How far from home were you?
Oh, about hour and a half.
Oh, wow. Jesus. Nowadays, that person would be put in prison, you know?
Yeah, I know. And I didn't even tell my parents. But that back then, you go, wow. An adult did that, so the adult must be right.
Well, that's the thing, too, is you're also, like, somebody pointed out in the chat, like, kids just call their cops and say they're being abused now. Like, my kid would try to pull that kind of shit, too. Well, that's the thing I always used to say, is you never used to call, you kids never used to call the cops on their parents. The parents, the kids used to be worried about the cops bringing the kids home to their parents, because at that point, you're more worried about getting your ass beat by your dad than you were anything. Like, at that point, you're just like, arrest me. Do not take me home. If my dad finds out I'm in trouble, I am fucked. Like, you don't understand. Like, that's the way we were growing. And that's exactly what that reminds me of, Paul. You were so embarrassed, and you thought you had obviously done something so wrong that you didn't even want to let your parents know, because you were more worried about the consequence from them than what it took you to get home from like 60, 70 miles away. But yeah.
But, the way I think about it is that society has kind of collapsed in on itself, too. I think I'm not entirely certain that parents know how to parent their children better than back in my parents' days. I would say generally they probably do parent better now than, 68 years ago. The difference is that there were societal rules that helped parents who couldn't parent. So we just knew stuff. So, for instance, remember when the streetlights went down, we genetically knew that it was time to go home. We just knew.
Right.
There were other societal norms that everyone kind of sort of took for granted and knew. So the parents didn't have to be great parents, because society's rules filled in the gaps. and that could also be, relevant if you're in a religious community. So, but now because family is not nearby, we're all over the map. That society isn't available to fill in the gaps of our lack of parenting. And so we're just fumbling around.
That's probably side of it, Paul. The other side of it is we're not allowed to parent anymore. That's the problem I kept running into, right? Was like, I was not allowed to be able to do things. It's like, you get the finger pointed at you as the parent. You're like, what am I supposed to do? If I lay a hand on my kid, I go to jail. If I put him in a corner or take away his phone, then I'm somehow, disciplining him in a way that's abuse. Like, there's nothing you could do anymore that a kid can't get twisted. And I'm not saying it's all the kid's fault, but it's like this problem with society that the parents have become the friends of the kids, and you can't be a parent anymore.
Oh no,
it's really tough.
Both my kids, when they were old enough to understand, I sat them down and told them, I'm not your friend.
Oh yeah, I've had that conversation with my kid too, but it's really tough, especially the way other parents parent their kids. And then I tried to do more traditional. Speaking of somebody who's a bit more traditional, and I know I would say somebody who's actually a really great dad, is Valiant Renegade, because you can see it in his kids, because his kids are smart as whips and they behave, and except for Junior, but
I mean, look, I can't always perfectly predict behavior, but look, the kids know. I'm not ashamed to admit. Look, you get warnings, you get parented. You want to defy that? You want to mouth off? You want to disobey after the 17th time I've told you something? See what a pop in the mouth feels like. I mean, look, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not hatred. It's not child abuse. It's not, look, parents, families used to all understand that the job of a parent is to raise a child to be a functional adult.
Yeah.
Before they turn 18 years old. Not to like
I
know Paul gets it.
Key, isn't it?
It's like, not to let them be a bunch of babies that are just leeches on you and that they never hear the word no, and you give them everything they want because, being a good parent is giving everything to your child you possibly can. No, that's being a shitty parent. It really is, because you are raising
you
your
want your
child.
kid to have more advantages than you did. You want your kid to have things better than you did.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, Valiant. That's a very good distinction to make.
You can't raise your child to be a failure in life. And by giving them everything that they want or expect, you are breeding them for failure.
Exactly
your job as a parent is to make sure that they understand that the word no is something they're going to hear a lot as an adult in their life. They're not going to get everything they want, and the things they do want in life, they actually have to go out and work their ass off for. That's the reality. Yeah. And if parents these days are the participation trophy generation, like we tend to, jokingly call it, it's not really a joke because they are. Oh, I showed up for soccer practice. I got a trophy. That's not real life.
It's also important if your life partner and you parent the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen many situations where they don't. I was very lucky. My wife and I 100% agreed with each other on how to parent the kids.
Yep.
So that's important.
My wife and I had some differences. She was closer to the friend, and the kids know not to cross me. So when it comes down to it, when something has to be put down, it's me, because
did your wife back you when you did what you felt you needed to do?
Early on, not as much as I needed her to, because I would give him a spanking and then she would be like, "Oh, come here, let me hug you and hold you." That was bad. So later she kind of got it after she had trouble with him. She kind of said, "Okay, yeah, he had it a little bit more right."
I'm for the record, I only hit my kid, one of the kids, once ever, and I was stupid. Well, I said, you're not too old enough for me to not give you a whack. And he went, "Go ahead." I went, "Fuck."
Bang. Well, wait.
I blew it.
Paul, for your sake, let me, if you don't mind, let me distinguish. I don't want to. Let's not use the word hit because that's not.
Okay.
That can get misinterpreted,
No,
right?
no, no. And I'm not trying to get into.
No, I know what you meant, but
aspersions.
I think physical discipline's a better word, especially on YouTube anyway.
Yeah. You get spanked. You get popped. Look.
I like whack.
Getting slapped in the mouth for mouthing off to you. Look, I got popped in the mouth a lot, slapped in the mouth a lot as a kid because I had a mouth. Surprise, surprise. I'm on YouTube. From my dad, because I would get sarcastic and I would not listen. And look, here's the thing. It's amazing how God makes kids to work, is that the biggest fear that kids have, parents out there, young parents especially, if you haven't figured this out yet, the worst thing that can really correct the kid's behavior is the notion that they have disappointed their mommy and daddy. That will crush them faster than anything if you are a good mom and dad. Sometimes that may involve, after not listening for 400 times, a butt whooping or spanking or whatever. And that's what will correct. There's a reason that has worked for hundreds of generations, if not thousands of generations.
Well, it used to take a village to raise a kid. Now, if anybody even looks at your kid sideways, well, that's the problem. You can't trust the other people anymore. You used to be able to trust other people.
It takes a village idiot.
But here's the thing, and this kind of gets us back to the original topic at hand. What got us here, and I think a lot of it is these new parents are the part of the problem, right? They aren't parenting their kids. They are so narcissistic and worried about themselves, and they're passing that all on through their kids. These are the same people who are trying to change these books. These are the same people who are making the movies that we talk about every day and the TV shows we talk about every day. And they are a big part of the problem. And yeah, Mecca J, me parenting 101. We're going to get past the parenting part. But let's grab
if I may, Tom, here's the thing.
Is that
it plays into, and I think this was a great conversation. It plays into what we're seeing now in Hollywood. Look at the Proud Family.
Well,
look at these TV shows. It's a broken culture of parenting and adulthood. This is all connected at a macro level. This isn't like a micro, like we just deviated into parenting. This has to do with everything that we're seeing on the big and small screen right now.
Valiant. None of the people who worked on the Proud Family are parents or have kids.
That's true.
Oh, no.
Shocking.
Well, and that reminds me. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Jolly.
Well, I was going to say it's a generation behind us. It's the last generation that are now parents that didn't get their ass whipped, and that's the problem we're dealing with today.
Yes, that's what I was getting at. Exactly, Jolly. And that reminds me of the story. And for those who have actually heard it before, please forgive me, but I'll tell it as quickly as I can. One day we were shopping. I had with my ex, and she had a couple kids, and her 7 or 8 year old at the time wasn't listening. She wanted something. She was told no. We were leaving the store. She kept basically brake checking her mom in front of her. So finally, mom just gives her a swat in the ass and says, "Keep moving, or you're going to get worse." Basically, we barely got all the kids in the car, the shit packed up, and I was about to hit reverse, and I got berries and cherries rolling up on me. And he comes out, and they're trying to check the kid, and everything else goes through this whole hullabaloo. Like I said, I'll tell the shorter version of it. And the first thought that comes to my mind, though, is whoever called the cops is somebody who clearly doesn't have fucking kids. Right there. I know that for a fucking fact. Because there's nothing that and I got out after a while because, her and the cop, I said to the cop, I said, look, I said, you go, if you think something happened, go watch the fucking camera. I said, because it all happened right in the fucking store and in the parking lot here. I said, I'm pissed. I've got 3 hungry kids in the back here. You got the other one scared shitless because she has no idea what the fuck's going on right now. It's like, let's call it a day here, huh? I was like, you got all the information you need. If go in there and watch the fucking video. If you think there's any reason something should come down of it, then do it. Otherwise, all you got here is a clear case of somebody who doesn't have kids calling you guys panicking because she tried to make her kid behave. And that's all it was. And at that point, the cop kind of agreed with me and it backed off. But it was like, I was getting irritated at that point. It was just like, because he had the girl in the squad car asking her 20 fucking questions, and my girlfriend's out in the side of the car, and there's people standing around. It's like, this is getting to be a fucking circus, right?
Don't
and
make
this is
me
the
hit
problem.
ya.
You
should have said that to the cop.
Yeah, I shouldn't have.
Don't make. Hey. As a comedian, for whatever reason, I found ways around stuff. My daughter threw a tantrum in a huge mall, and she was on the concrete floor, and I just laid down next to her, and I looked up at the ceiling, and I went, wow, I've never seen the mall like this before. And then she shut up, and then I heard her say, Dad, get up. No, I like it down here. Dad, get up. You're embarrassing me.
That was one of my tactics, too, is when my kid would act up in the store, I just start acting like him.
Well, that's a good.
And he'd go like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just doing what you're doing.
I remember my mom whacking me in the Dominion grocery store, and she's going, don't you embarrass me.
Dude, I got popped in public so many times as a kid, I lost count because I would mouth off after like the 10th time my mom or dad told me not to do something. That's the way, I mean, that's how it works. So,
yeah. My parents were born in
now you're a famous YouTuber.
Oh, wow, Andy. Yeah, so you had older parents, yeah.
Depression era. You didn't mess around.
No. We got John W78 who's become a member. Let me see if I can still see what level. I don't know. I might have missed it. Sorry about that if I did. We'll give you a sticker anyway.
Evening parenting.
Well, like I said, yeah.
Anything can go in the evening, right? You said that.
Yes, it can.
And there's still 500 people watching us have this conversation.
I'm surprised because there were some people who did leave, but so we got a minimum effort puppy here. So let's do the sticker proper. There you go, my friend. Thank you, John W78. We are all Devo again, who says my 2 younger kids were wild childs for a moment. Then I embarrassed them in public. Boy, howdy, that cured them right now. That's the beauty of having a teenager, is if you can usually find a way to embarrass them, and then they'll never misbehave again.
Yeah,
you just got to be careful with it, not to go too far. You know, like bringing your kid to school in your robe or something like that is always fun. You know, something like that. But you don't want to embarrass yourself too much at the same time.
I played the Imperial March as I dropped my kids off at high school. As loud as I could get it. Happened a few times, and yeah.
Elf sends in $5, says, true story. I don't taste the true freedom of the internet until my 7th grade. Oh, really? Well, I didn't even have internet wasn't even really a thing until
the internet
I was like,
didn't exist when I was in 7th grade.
Yeah, like I was probably in high school when it was finally like I remember when the Space Jam website went live. Like that's how old I am, man. Oh wow, we have Gary Ambrosia here. How are you, my friend?
Yo, how's it going, guys?
There's another person with cool stuff behind him.
What's happening?
Not much. We're just talking about how crappy parents we are. No, I'm just kidding.
Were you a good kid growing up?
What's that?
Were you a good kid growing up?
A good kid? Hell no. I was a terror.
We were the 80s kids, man.
Yeah, we were rotten.
Yeah. But, we took care of ourselves. That's all that mattered. Electrifying CT says, absolutely agree. What you said about rules in kids. Yes. And then we got Electrifying CT again, who says, all my life, my mother has believed I am autistic. I've never been diagnosed. I never received special treatment. I am thankful. Well, I did get tested. They couldn't figure out what was up with me. I was in certain programs, but at this point, I'm assuming it's some type of autism or Asperger's.
Tom is just generally fucked up.
There's that too. Like, there's the drugs and another shit. So, like, yeah. Jack White says, and obviously there are kids who have parents who have issues. Yeah. They're not dealing with that with help bring out the absolute worst in the kids. And this is what I was talking about now with like this current crop of, adults having kids is they're so narcissistic and they have their own problems that it's not boding well. Jack White says another problem with parenting is that you can get parents who have issues with their own and makes it very difficult for them to parent properly, I think he means. Speaking from experience, my own parents here. Yeah. Then we got Cam about it. Says, Teddy was right. Speak softly and carry a big stick.
Teddy Roosevelt, baby. Yep.
Electrifying CT then comes in and says, I have been dealing with this as a young parent myself. Mama and everyone else wants to baby my son. He's 3, yet he wants to spend time with his daddy because daddy disciplines him. Well, there's something to that,
there is.
I'm not saying that kids want to be disciplined, but they like structure, right? They like it's part of feeling safe for a kid, and that's what some parents don't understand. Is that they're actually it's a form of abuse, if you ask me, more so than some of this other shit. Because this being your best friend to your kid or allowing your kid to have free reign or free range kids or whatever they're called nowadays.
Yeah, free range kids. Yeah, like chickens. Free range chickens.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And not only that, that's the other part. Like, not even go down that rabbit hole, but these kids that are now basically like hobby pets for people. That's another thing that got us here.
I can tell you as a dad, just real quick. And look, I love my wife to death, but she's not the disciplinarian in the house. She's just not. She just doesn't have the heart and soul for it, which is not a bad thing. I am. She comes to me like, oh, the kid did this. You know, you need to talk to them about this. They know I can be a hard ass if you just don't follow instructions. But at the same time, as much of a hard ass as I am on my kids, because I want them to grow up right, they also trust me and respect me implicitly. Like,
and they know you'll protect them. Exactly.
Exactly. It's you're totally right, Tom. It's that disciplinary structure. That's what kids innately want and desire. They're not going to come out and say it, but that's what you have to deliver as a parent if you're going to get that.
Well, it's part of feeling secure as a kid, right? Like,
yeah.
Kids never know how to articulate that, but we as a parent know and understand. Should as a parent know and
that's part of being an adult, not
Yes,
TikTok
exactly.
adult.
Exactly.
Well, it's part of a whole package that if you make a promise and you keep it, it just adds.
Yep.
So, one of the promises I made to both my kids is that it didn't matter what I'm in the middle of, as long as it wasn't like I'm talking to my clients in Germany. You can stop me anytime and I'll pay attention to you. I'll put down my work. And if you got something to talk to me about, I will actually stop. Anything. Didn't matter.
You brought up earlier that, of course, you had the luxury of that for the most part. Some people don't, unfortunately.
No, absolutely. And I own my own company and, I can do it. But I mean, I know workaholic parents who can't get it in their minds to stop and just give some time to their kids.
I had those days.
Well, I wouldn't be doing this 10 years ago.
Pardon me, what?
I wouldn't be doing YouTube at all 10 years ago when my kids were little. I would have caught hell from the wife for one thing, but it would have been, not the best idea for, me to be at work all day and then to be doing this all evening instead of spending time. So,
and then,
well, good for you. But
that's just me. Yeah.
But how many guys do you know that would get home, then go off play golf, and then the weekends would be all golf?
Well, and that's the thing is like, it's become
we're all football. Watching it.
It's all about me and
whatever.
Who gives a shit about anybody else. We are all Devo says, "Oh my God, Renegade, what an old school concept! I salute you." Well, thank you so much.
None of my kids liked sports, so I had to basically get it out of my system.
My kid wasn't really into sports either.
Yep.
Nikki D says, if the MCU's Phase 5 turns out to be just as bad, I can see what Nikki D's doing here, trying to get us off topic.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
Not worse than Phase 4. Will Kevin Feige start to get compared to Kathleen Kennedy? It's a good question.
We just talked about that for 3 hours. I
say, didn't you just talk about this for 3 hours? Or no?
Yeah. No, it looks like it's going to be. Get ready. And I think Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is going to be very soured. I'll put it this way. I think the overall grosses for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 probably just lost at least $100 million, if not more, in box office based on Ant-Man 3.
It brought the whole genre down, you mean?
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but I'm curious to think, because this is what I was pointed out before too, is Guardians is the one of the franchises within the Marvel universe that kind of has its own little fan base in its own too, because like my one cousin, I told the story about how she was griping about it because she loves them, but she doesn't like superhero movies. But she's like, somebody told me to go see that Guardians of the Galaxy movie because it was so funny. And it turns out I started crying after the first 5 minutes. It's like, you guys are fucking assholes. Like,
well, you remember when Guardians had girls in it?
But she fell in love with it, right? Like,
they don't anymore. I mean, they've erased the girls from the movie.
Yes, this is a problem, and I see what you're saying.
Good luck with that.
But
I mean, they literally photoshopped Karen Gillan's head on a man's body for the new poster, just like they did in Black Widow last year.
And we've been talking about it all week too, Valiant. But here's the thing we got to also remember: who else cares or talks about this shit besides us? That's the other thing we got to remember.
I know. I get it. I just
the normies will go see Guardians. They like Rocket Raccoon and they like Groot.
I want it to do well. Don't get me wrong. I want it to do well. I'm starting now after Ant-Man in this past week to have my doubts.
Oh, I'm done with Marvel. Like, this is my last hoorah is Guardians 3.
Yeah, Guardians is my unfinished business with the MCU.
But no, I think it's pretty much already kind of been written in stone unless Kevin pulls something here real soon. He's on the verge of being known as the next Kathleen Kennedy. In fact, I heard some rumors about how he had gotten into it a little bit with Iger. So we'll have to see how that pans. I don't know if you guys had heard anything about that earlier. If you talked about it at all, but
on which part? I'm sorry.
About if the rumors of Kevin Feige and Iger getting into it. Yeah.
Oh no, we didn't talk about that earlier. I hadn't had a chance to explore it, but if I'm Iger at this point, look, I'm not a big Iger fan, but one thing I do understand is ego, and Iger has a big ass ego. Yeah. And one of the things he's most pissed about, you've talked about this as well, y'all on Midnight Session. Iger doesn't like the fact that Star Wars is a dumpster fire, and he probably is starting to really not like the fact that the MCU is turning into a dumpster fire now. These are his babies. These are his legacy. He has to preserve these. And that, above anything else, that ego that Iger has is going to trump everything else.
Yeah, I'm kind of at this point with that whole thing where I don't know if I believe necessarily there was an argument, but I can see, like, I've been saying that they have to have been noticing that everything's going.
Oh, there's been a discussion. I don't know about an argument. I mean, depends on your term of argument, but there has. I guarantee you that Iger and Feige have had words.
Yeah, but either one of them know how to fix it. That's the problem. And I don't know if they do.
And I know for a fact that come next Monday, if Cocaine Bear happens to knock it off the top spot, or should I say bump it off the top spot?
I can't imagine that happening, but damn.
That I want to be a fly on the wall when Bob Iger opens that door on Monday morning.
You got to imagine that Ant-Man is going to do it.
Kevin fucking Feige, my office right motherfucking now.
Give me the $60,000 film. Just rack up
Ant-Man is going to do probably somewhere around $35 million next weekend.
That's all right.
Which actually is bad because guess where they're figuring Cocaine Bear's opening around $40 million.
If that happens, then that's atrocious. But here's the problem. And I'll tell everybody this now. Ant-Man has the lock, the contractual lock, on all these big IMAX screens. So even if Cocaine Bear sells more tickets next weekend than Ant-Man Quantumania, it's very likely that Quantumania would still beat it by virtue of the fact of the PLF death grip that Disney and Ant-Man has on the more expensive screens and showings.
Yeah. Well, here's one that has a little lower, but like that's the thing. It just, the high end, they got 36. Okay. Mm-hmm. The low end, they got 7. So this is a long range projection here. But even if it hits that 36, and man, that's what I was predicting, is that we have this neck and neck race next weekend with Cocaine Bear and we won't know until come Sunday night or Monday morning which one is actually number one. I could be wrong, and if it blows it out of the water, that's going to be way bad for Marvel.
I'd love to see it happen. I think if we see Box Office Pro on Thursday this coming week, when they have their weekend projections, or actually by Friday they'll have their not long range but the actual weekend projections. I'll be curious to see. And I see Pros out there. He just snuck in the chat.
Yeah, he's got the link too if he can make it. But
yeah,
we're going to be wrapping up sooner than
later. Marvel's
is
going to come along and save Disney at the end of the year.
Absolutely. Come Thanksgiving, we're going to be giving them thanks for the Marvels.
The latest rewrite.
Oh yeah, I predicted that right away. Reshoots right away. Well, what's funny enough is, like, isn't this? Here's where I know Valiant. You got to be right that they knew something was going to happen this weekend. They knew they got to go back and retool the Marvels now.
Oh yeah.
They up front knew that this was not going to open where they want. And they've been hedging the headlines the whole way through. The only thing they can really say is it's the biggest opening for Ant-Man, and that's it.
We've been tracking, I say we, like I've been tracking on my channel since Box Office Pro has been tracking the first week of ticket pre-sales, and I've been covering it in videos. When the first thing came out with Ant-Man, and they're like, we're seeing a $95 to $105 million 3-day opening. And then it went down a little bit, and then it went up a little bit, but it stayed in that range. And then 5 days ago, the first reviews on Rotten Tomatoes started coming out from critics, and they took a hot dump on this movie. I mean, a huge hot dump. I mean, this was a Cleveland steamer beyond the point of the Cleveland Browns could possibly meet out in a 5-year contract with a rookie. I mean, this was bad. And it's literally at Eternals levels at 47% on the critic score right now.
That was one thing. The only thing they could say is that it did better than Eternals or whatever. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's the same now. It's at 47.
Yeah, is it?
It's
I meant with the box office wise too. But yeah.
Oh yeah, no, but I mean, like as soon as that happened, like as soon as the pre-sales lined up, the bad response, and the critic scores came out, 24 hours later, Disney puts out an announcement. We're pushing the Marvels back to November. And I said, look, it's not a bad idea because Disney was going to have to spend close to $1 billion within a 90-day period on marketing the 6 freaking movies that they had coming out between May 5th and August 11th. They had to push something off.
I had said that at one point too. They were going to have to. Yeah, they didn't have shit for Thanksgiving either. So
you take the well, no, they had Haunted Mansion around that time. They switcherooed it. And then they pushed the Marvels out into November because that was the weakest link.
They didn't have shit for Thanksgiving.
Well, okay. I'm sorry. You're not
When
wrong.
is a Haunted Mansion once? They've tried this twice now.
I know.
The TV movie and the Eddie Murphy movie.
They pushed off. Nobody gives a crap about the Marvels. Captain Marvel, you, Tom, and I, we both said this. There is no way that Captain Marvel makes $1 billion if it had not been shoehorned in 2 months before Endgame came out. I mean, that was it. That's the only reason that movie did what it did. That movie was a donkey turd. That was a cow pie.
It's going to do less than Wakanda Forever.
Oh, it's going to do Ant-Man numbers. It's going to finish the box office with $600 million like Ant-Man. I'll tell you right now.
Putting out a movie every 2 weeks seems way too aggressive.
Well, that's the way Disney used to do it. Yeah. Well, and that's where they learned, what was it, 3 years ago when they released Solo, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Toy Story 4, was it? Or one of the other movies, like all within a matter of like 3 weeks.
It's insane. They're going to lose money on it again. Another Marvel Cinematic Universe movie that's going to lose money since Endgame.
And granted, that's part of the reason they blamed on Solo failing, but I was like, no, if Solo failed, Solo failed because it sucked, right? Because, that was that year, I think it was one of the biggest years in box office.
Mm-hmm.
Camelbot Killer says, Disney has hit the iceberg. They're still in mindset, the ship can't sink, or at the beginning of get the damage report, it was too late. As far as like the Titanic stuff, it's basically that point. It's too late. They can't turn the ship. They've hit the iceberg already. The hole's there in the hull.
Yeah,
it's going down.
They're just now figuring out that it's been ripped open, and the whole bottom of the ship is already flooded. That's the problem.
All right,
You're right.
The memers out there have to do a picture of Kevin Feige in the water and Iger on the door.
Yeah, right.
Fat Steven, you have a thumbnail to build for me. Just if you're out there.
Alf says, this reminds me, Paul, if you have seen Attack on Titan Season 4, there are a few characters affected by bad parenting and end up causing terrible consequences.
I have not seen Attack on Titan Season 4.
I know what he's talking about.
Generally speaking, most shows, I kind of get their gist in their first run, and I rarely am eager to see more. I get it. I was entertained. Sword Art Online, that was a surprising second season. But, Attack on Titan, I get it. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I need to see more.
Well, Paul needs to leave us here, so WDW Pro has a super chat for you here. It's a fantastic panel. Awesome show. Hope to make it on soon. Okay, good. Hope to see you here soon. Just couldn't get the schedule to work tonight. Paul needs 2.5K more subs for 100K. Sweet. Let's go. So yes, indeed, check out Paul's channel. And with that,
don't make me hit you to get that, I'm coming.
Don't make me turn this YouTube channel around. We'll go home.
I'll whack you,
So yes, anything you got coming up you want to plug or anything on the way out the door?
I just did my Roald Dahl video. I got really angry at the evisceration of Roald Dahl's work by the woke puffins, the Luft puffins, and I did a video on that. nice to have gear to be able to just bang that stuff off. And then after that, I don't know. Yeah. I got whatever comes into my brain.
What's funny is we spent that whole hour talking about parenting. We never once brought up your more recent video that I adore, where you play yourself and your kid.
Oh, and my kid, yes.
That skit was hilarious.
I want to get my kid to inherit my YouTube channel, which
as a YouTuber, I got a kick out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to happen when what happens. Someone who has spent their entire life as a YouTuber, what are they going to do? They want their kid to take over their biz. I thought it was an interesting.
It was kind of reminiscent of the Monty Python skit.
Yes, the inspiration was the one with the writer, and he was complaining the son who was the minor.
Yes, I love that skit.
What's wrong with being a writer?
Yeah. So you think mom wants to go to all these fancy parties all the time?
Anyways, yes, everything is an inspiration from Monty Python. You can't get away from the bastards. They pretty much did every decent sketch on the planet. So yes, I fully admit the inspiration. Anyways,
thank you so much. And then Camabot has one more question for you. Paul, did you see SAO movies?
Sword Art Online. Yes.
Sword Art Online.
Sword Art Online.
Yep. Sword Art Online. Fantastic. Brilliant stuff.
So there's your answer. Yes, you enjoyed them.
Love that. And
we
you guys
down
south there, do you guys get a day off tomorrow?
Yes. I mean,
what is tomorrow? I don't even know.
President's Day.
Call it Family Day here.
President's Day.
Oh, that's cute. We call it Lundi Gras. So, that's while this is on right now. President's Day tomorrow is a federal holiday, so they won't. Banks and stock market.
Fuck, I don't get no mail tomorrow.
But it's also Lundi Gras, so I'm not going into work tomorrow. I'll probably swing by the office to do a couple of things. But Tuesday is Mardi Gras, Wednesday is Ash Wednesday, so I'm off.
Yeah, I just asked because I have a lot of American clients, and I didn't know whether I had to pay attention to them tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I mean, depending on who the clients are, but if you have clients in New Orleans, do not bother us Tuesday and Wednesday. Do not.
No.
So, yeah.
I have clients all over the United States, just none in New Orleans because they don't have the money to pay my fee.
You have to go outside of New Orleans for that. No,
they can't afford me there.
They can afford bullets. So,
ouch.
It's true.
Right.
They love shooting each other.
Well, Valiant also has to leave us. So as Paul and Valiant take off out the door, check out Valiant's channel. Check out Paul's channel. Do you have to leave us too, Andy, or are you just waving at them?
Nice to meet you, Gary and Brahma.
Yes.
Good to
Glad
see you,
you had a chance
Nice
to
to meet you, Paul.
See you later.
See you, everyone. Till next time.
Take care.
Y'all take care. Good to see everybody.
Gary,
All right,
it's been forever. How you been, man?
I've been okay. Work's been a little rough, but everything's going all right. Everybody landed on their feet. I had we had a windstorm last week, and it took out my internet cable. So nice. I was about to go on the Wednesday show, and I couldn't go. So that was rough.
Yeah, I miss you guys. I haven't been able to join you.
But
I'm on a mountain ridge, right?
What's that?
So I live on a mountain ridge, so we get some wind up here. I know how that is. It's like there's times where you just feel my room is just rocking back and forth.
It's not normal here, so it just kind of happened. But I'm back. So
yeah, well, we're glad to have you here tonight.
I did not catch the earlier part of the show. I was working on something else. I guess
we've been talking about parenting the whole time.
Yeah.
Those meddling kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Dearest is here, and he says, long-standing issue with comics is the characters in the books are not the same as the movies. Comic readers want the books fixed, I think he means. The MCU is forcing the films to look like the books. I get what you're saying here, Dearest, but this is part of the problem. What got us here in the first place is they hijacked the books so they could use that as an excuse to change the movies in the first place. Because up to this point, well, not up to this point, but up to a certain point, most of the Marvel movies were kind of an amalgam of best of, over the years kind of thing, it felt like, right? Like the initial Iron Man was a pretty basic Iron Man story. The original Captain America and Thor, same thing.
Isn't that the basis for Luke in the alphabet community? Because last year they made a story.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, they just go ahead and make it canon because they want to, and yeah, there's nothing they can do then, or nothing we can do anyway. But unless I'm misinterpreting your question here, dearest, that's the way I see it. Electrifying CT says, with bigger chat, again, Grandma Wasp trapped the good Kang in his eternal prison based off her own assumption. Now, evil Kangs are free, horrible writing. I haven't seen the movie yet, but this is my understanding of how. Yeah, this is like Marvel in a nutshell lately. Like, their writing is ass. It's like they're not even paying attention to anything anymore. And this kind of reminds me of Loki again. So isn't this the same guy that wrote Loki has worked on this movie too, because of the whole Kang connection or whatever? But I could be wrong. But yeah, that guy is not a good
I'm not
writer.
sure on that one.
Yeah. I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really comment further than that unless anybody here has. I think we're actually on a panel where we haven't seen it. All the people who have seen it, I think, left.
Actively avoided it.
Right. General Sod says, do you guys think Feltz, I think he means Peltz, is satisfied now that he's made some bank, or will he push for less wokeness and not just cost cutting? It seems to be, and I don't know, I don't have enough information on this. I wish we got this before Valiant had left. It seems to be that he's getting ready for a round 2, from what it sounds like. So there's more he wants than what he's gotten already. That pacified him for that moment, but
he seems more like a chess player. He just took a piece. Now he's going to start picking them off like every opportunity, and God knows they're going to give him more and more opportunities to expose themselves. I mean, what do they have coming out? Indiana Jones, the Marvels. I mean, Guardians is the only thing that they have that's going to do any money, and the only thing they might have something with Haunted Mansion if they do it right, and that's a big if.
Guessing on my part, but he's been collecting votes. He's not just stopping that communication. He still has them, right?
That's kind of what it seems like. Where he's at least up to something, or he's trying to get things the way he wants. Like them separating these entities like that was part of that whole thing. So who knows? I don't know enough about it, and I'd like to get back up to speed on where he's at now, because I did get a few articles sent to me about how he's not quite done yet. So I don't have enough info to go off yet. But yeah, no, I think this is far from over. We're just seeing the beginnings of this Disney fiasco here. And Dearest is going back to his earlier super chat, says new readers coming from the movies would be put off by changed characters in the books, causing people to abandon the comics. Well, actually, Dearest, this is exactly what we saw. This is exactly what happened. I mean, many of us have pointed this out time and time again. You know, you had these characters in the movies at the time when like Endgame and Infinity War were the biggest movies in the world, and kids would go into comic shops, if there was any, and go to grab an Iron Man comic and it has fucking Ironheart in it, or they grab a Hawkeye comic and it's Kate Bishop, or they grab and that's the problem they were running into with comic shop. This is what basically has killed the market. So you're not wrong in that respect, but yeah, this is something that we've talked about plenty of times before.
You think they pushed back Ironheart so they could add more cornrows in the helmet?
Belts is a lovely, chunky female presenter in the UK. I have no idea what you're talking about then. I think he's making fun of the misspelling. With that, we're kind of caught up. Was there anything else on anybody's mind before we kind of wrap things up here tonight?
Yeah. Did anybody else besides me and Tom see the latest episode of 1923?
Haven't seen it yet.
So we're probably the only two Sheridan fans on the panel here. Well, maybe Andy.
I caught up last week. I usually watch the latest episode on Mondays.
Harrison Ford gives a fantastic speech about politics and the way the world works at the dinner table. And everybody should check out just this one episode, even if you don't want to watch the actual series, because it was a great monologue.
What I love is that's where the rule begins, that there's no politics at the table in the Dutton house.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't normally
thought the
get
speech
into
was
new
fantastic.
shows, but do you guys recommend that show?
Yes.
I recommend every Taylor Sheridan show.
You know what,
Right.
Gary?
Yellowstone, 1923, all of them.
I was gonna say you might want to go down the rabbit hole I did, because it's the most accessible. And what I did is I started with Tulsa King, especially if you're like a Sylvester Stallone fan.
I saw that. Love that show. That show was
okay.
Cool.
So you've already saw that. You kind of have an idea of his style, like Taylor Sheridan's style.
I loved Hell or High Water. I think that's.
Oh, well then, yeah, you'll be, dude. You probably already, yeah. What I would do then is either start with, you could go to the Mayor of Kingstown, or you could just start with Yellowstone, man. One or the other. From here on out, depends on what kind of mood you're in, basically.
Yeah, I like to keep it light. I heard Mayor of Kingstown's a little depressing and kind of like dark. Yeah. I'm not really into that these days.
Yellowstone can be too, but there's also great moments of like Yellowstone's a great roller coaster, and then once you get into the prequels, it's also fun too. I actually loved 1883 quite a bit. I was sad that they didn't do more of that. Yeah.
Well, I'll check them out then.
Because do you remember when we were younger in school, we had like the old Oregon Trail games?
Oh, yeah.
That's basically what 1883 is like Oregon Trail, the show.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is it in monochrome? Is it like green and white?
No.
Okay.
No.
Not in that respect.
Beautifully shot.
But I mean, in the idea that basically it's about a group of, it's about the that generation of the Dutton family plus a group of immigrants being led across the plains on the Oregon Trail by what's his name?
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott, yeah. And it's a really good show. But it basically is kind of the prequel to set up 1923, which then is a prequel to Yellowstone.
And it's a one-off. 1883 is one season.
Yeah, it was just a one-off.
So.
All right, I'll check them out then.
Yeah, that Sam Elliott monologue in 1883 is what got me hooked on the whole thing. I saw a clip of that and I was like, wow, that writing's good.
Yeah, what got me into it was Tulsa King, man, especially his what's with the pronouns. But
it's a great show. I really enjoyed it.
Yes. Yeah, it's basically of the same kind of writing and sense of humor. And what I love about Taylor's shows is he's not afraid to let shit happen. You've got these shows where they'll sit there and they'll set something up in the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then you got to wait 2 seasons for them to wrap it up. Not with these shows. 9 times out of 10, most of the stuff is pretty well, you find out about something happens as a result of it, then something else happens as a result of that, which leads into more things. But like, there's only a few threads that they've really kept hanging over 4 or 5 seasons, unlike most shows do.
Well, the other nice part is he does have some leftist characters that will act like leftists and give leftist monologues, and he's got some conservative characters that give act like conservatives and give conservative monologues. It's pretty neutral when you balance it out.
To a point. There's also the funny thing is he's got the one activist chick that's really learning the hard.
Yeah, Piper Perabo or Perabo, whatever her name is.
Yeah. Yeah, which I like her character. Like, I like how they're doing that through her character. It's kind of a comment on these current activists. Electrifying CT says, have you all seen Strange World? LOL. No.
I'm working my way through Better Call
the Disney
Saul,
movie,
which I totally recommend.
Our current world is strange enough for me.
Yeah, right? Our current world is more than strange enough. Yeah. I think that was a joke, but yeah, no, I don't think anybody's seen Strange World, to be honest with you,
at all.
That's correct.
That's what I mean, like an actual person in the history of the world.
Yeah.
Not through the whole thing, anyway. Dearest says 1883 has female protagonists we have wanted. Yes and no. Script is right. There's one thing I will say is that Taylor's shows do have a bit of a Mary Sue problem. And that is there is usually, but it also has to do with the fact that he loves to build the Dutton family, especially around whatever matriarch at the time. And with 1883, it's a little bit different because you get it mostly through the point of view of the teenage character, which I like the character, and that's the only reason I think we let her get away with being so much of a Mary Sue. But think about it. She is perfect at every fucking thing she does.
She was actually the only thing I did not like about that show.
Yeah.
Was her.
Yeah, so like that's one thing where and Beth also is a bit of a Mary Sue sometimes, but I love Beth, so that's the only difference. So
it's pretty incredible nowadays that they actually. It's pretty incredible nowadays that they, there's like as far as the writing room and as far as the production goes, there's a number of boxes they all have to check. and they, Taylor Sheridan seems like he's just barely checking those boxes just to get the production completed. It's a miracle that the guy gets anything, enjoyable or decent done, in my opinion. And this stuff is pretty good that he does. It's really when I look at what's on the screen, I just like cringe at the fact that the hell that he must have gone through just to get us that thing,
Well, and he's gotten to the point now where he can pretty much do almost anything he wants. Now his biggest problem is Kevin Costner, but I don't know. Are you asking what a Mary Sue is, or are you just confused by thinking that they are?
I'm confused on thinking that Beth is, because isn't part of being a Mary Sue that you haven't earned, your abilities to do stuff? I think it's shown kind of through the show that Beth is, the way she grew up, is kind of influenced the way that she is as an adult to a degree.
That's one way of looking at it, but the thing is, she's always getting out of everything, just barely skating out. She always has something in her pocket. She's not as bad as I would say Ellie was in 1883. No, not by far.
Yeah.
But the things we got to remember is just because somebody's had tragic things happen to them or bad things happen to them doesn't necessarily mean they're not a Mary Sue, right? Being a Mary Sue has to do with they pick up the sword automatically, they're good with the sword, stuff like that. Like they don't have to have any kind of training time. They always save the day. They're the best at everything. Everybody's always talking about them. So in that respect, no, Beth barely skirts by. Like, script doctors argued a little bit with me, and I had to concede on a few points, but like Ellie, on the other hand, is a little harder to argue that she's not, because literally everything she does in that show, I mean, she picks it up and she's great at it from the start,
Yeah. Do you think they were doing that just so that everybody would miss her more? Sorry, spoiler, but like that would be the thing, like that to endear her to everybody.
Well, I think part of here's the word. I like the character, unlike Brahma, and here's my thing with her, and I look at it this way. 1883 is basically that character living a lifetime in one summer.
Right. Yeah.
And from that perspective, you let it go because it is a very romantic, and the show is set up in that way of that very old school kind of romantic Western style, right? Like it has and by romantic, I don't just mean like actual love romance. I mean the romanticization of it all. Because of all the shows Taylor's done, that's probably the one that has the most of that in it, especially with like the fantastical stuff, and like the ending is very like interpretive. Like, how do you interpret that? Did they both die? Are they in heaven? Is this or whatever? And then they have her continuing to narrate too, which is kind of weird. Yeah, that is one thing I don't like with 1923 is it should be Helen Mirren now narrating, because that I don't have a problem with, is that we get this chronicle of this family through the matriarchs, right? Like, I wouldn't have a problem with that. Because that's kind of how families are. You go to the mom and she knows everybody's story, right? So like that's kind of exactly like, or whoever the main, head female person is in the family at that time. And the way they got it structured is I love it's the traditional families. Like you said, they take both angles and look at it. And sometimes none of that shit ever factors into it, because it's all about, this is just the way things are, period. Right? Like they don't have those debates about, it's kind of hard to have a debate about how many genders there are when you're on a farm.
The cattle's dying. What are we going to do? Let's debate gender. Yeah.
Exactly.
Not going to happen.
These cows actually want to be bulls.
And you have no right to tell them they're not.
Have you actually asked them their gender?
Did you ask them if they want to be milk givers?
I think it's time for a barbecue.
That's when you tell them to go milk that bull over there and see how it reacts.
Yeah, see how that turns out for you.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Electrifying then adds a strange world. If you watch the first gen, white straight male was right the entire time. Whole movie resolved had they listened to the first gen. Only reason I recommend. Oh, okay. I get what you're saying here. Okay. So you were actually recommending it. Well, you know what? If I actually get the time to watch it, I have nothing else going on, and the stars align, I will do just that, electrifying CTing, and I'll let you know what I think of it. But yeah, from what I've heard of it, it's not something I necessarily want to get into, but you're probably right. Be interesting if they slip that little tidbit in there. But we're all caught up on the super chats. Let me double check on the mod side if anybody caught any member chats I may have missed, because I haven't been able to keep up with everything tonight. But I don't think we missed any. But Gary, what have you been up to lately? And like I said, we haven't had a chance to talk too much since I haven't been able to make it to the shows since they've been moved. It really sucks, but yeah.
Yeah, the usual stuff on the show. We got a whole lot of projects that we're working on for. We're kind of booked out for the rest of the year for short films and stuff and projects for the show. They're going to be really cool. They're a lot of fun. So we're working our asses off on them. So yeah, they'll be great. And a lot of people started subscribing to my channel on YouTube. So I figured, hey man, I better start making something. So every Monday, there's a new little short thing about some of the movie props and stuff like that. That's it.
Sweet. Yeah. Oh, we got another electrifying CET says, recommend only as proof they contradict their own writing. Ah, gotcha. As always, remember Bird Box. Oh, okay. So you're telling us don't expect to like it. Exactly. Gotcha. But we'll see possibly what you're pointing out. But yeah. But with that, Brahma, what are you up to lately? What do you got coming up? Anything?
Well, on Saturday nights, I've got my Bourbon and Boarding show on my Rumble channel and on that 70s Rock Fans YouTube channel. And then you'll catch me, as usual, hanging out with Comics Division on Monday and Thursday. So, and then popping in random places like this, having fun. So, and nice to meet you, Gary.
Hey, you too, Brahma Bull. Good to meet you, man.
And R.I.P. to Detective Munch. Richard Belzer died.
Yeah, we had Richard Belzer pass away. We found that out. And then Tom Sizemore had a incident.
Aneurysm.
Aneurysm. I was going to say, I wasn't sure. I don't think it was a stroke. It was an aneurysm. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is too bad. And he was in critical condition last we knew.
Yep.
So, just too bad. Yeah, two really great guys. So hopefully Tom pulls through. And sad to hear about Richard. He wasn't too old. He was only 79. So I hate to hear that.
We just watched Night Shift the other night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just watched it with the wife, and there he was in it.
Yeah. Funny guy.
Mm-hmm.
Funny guy. Underrated comedian. And of course, he got his claim to fame was being part of the whole spin-offs of what was it? Show just
Law and Order.
Law and Order. Yeah, I was gonna say L.A. Law. I was like, no, it's Law and Order.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's played the same character on more shows than anybody else in history.
I think you're right. I think I'd seen something like that somewhere. Yeah. And because people were comparing him to basically like the Samuel L. Jackson of the Law and Order universe. Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad. Yeah, I liked him a lot. That's too bad. He's one of those guys you'd see him in bit parts here and there, and he was always welcome to see. So.
Yeah.
Sizemore was still alive. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
As far as we know, he's still alive right now. But,
last I heard, yeah.
So, CC, what do you got coming up besides our Friday night business?
Well, it's nice to meet you as well, Gary. It's the first time I've been on stream.
I have been horrible at introducing everybody to Gary tonight, by the way.
I know
like,
I've watched this stuff.
Like Andy might know, I obviously knows him, but Snow might know him, and that's about it.
Well, it's good to meet you too, officially.
I'm
CC.
so sorry, Gary.
It's okay. No big deal. I came in real late, so,
That's all right. I sometimes feel that when I'm doing a stream, and it's like, I should have done that whole like segment at the end where people get to say what they're up to. I totally forgot it. I just ended the stream. Yeah. But you can catch me on Friday nights karaoke on my channel. About 10 p.m. Pacific. We're going to do that every week if you want to tune in and listen to us sing some amateur karaoke.
We had some fun this last week with Culture.
Yeah.
He was doing costume changes and everything.
I don't know how he does it, but it's like he disappears for 5 seconds and suddenly he's got a whole new outfit on.
I know how he does it, but I won't give away his secrets. He's a true showman.
He is.
Thank you for being here, CC. And Andy, what you got coming up? Anything good?
Not much. Just working my butt off. Hopefully I can get caught up and actually start nailing myself down.
Yeah, I hear you. Oh, look at this. We got Cardinal Sin in the chat. How you been, brother? Sends in $1.99. Says, hail. Yeah, it's been a few since I've seen you, too. And last but definitely not least, the Snowman himself. What you got coming up? I know you got tons of stuff always going on.
Yeah, got a pretty packed schedule this next week. The main things, I guess if you like R-rated Muppet shows, make sure you come hang out with us every Saturday night. Got season 2 of Cotton Council coming at you here real soon. Meanwhile, we've been doing the Tuck and Roll show. But tomorrow night, just added Tom to the group. We're doing Kung Fu Corner with Polly Latino Slant and T-Shirt Historian. Be talking some Kill Bill. That's hopefully going around 7, maybe 8 o'clock West Coast time. See when Tom can show up, and we'll figure it out.
I might be able to make that because, like, if it's that time West Coast time, we might just be wrapping up Toxic Femme about the time you guys get rolling. So that might work out.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Because you guys are 2 hours ahead of me, and we go live at 7 my time, so that gives us 2 hours. So
exactly
to work with. So I'm thinking that might work out. So when you told me that, I'm like, you're East West Coast PST, right? So I was like, oh, actually, that might work out perfectly. So with that, I might hop in there with them to talk a little Kill Bill tomorrow. That's a great fucking movie.
Love to have you, Tom.
Just talking Kill Bill 1 or both parts?
We'll start with 1, and we're going to dive into Paime and Sonny Shiba's character, the Hanzo Hattori, and just have fun with it and kind of dig into it a little more than usual. So,
all right, sounds good. And me, I have the morning show tomorrow, and then of course Toxic Femme, and then hopefully I can join Snow on that. So with that, anything else anybody has going on lately or wants to bring up before we go? Okay. Well, with that, let's say goodnight to the kids out there. Take care of yourselves and each other. Here's a bored corgi. And just remember...
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book.